Sup everybody, what's up? So today we are going to cover up this topic named When the River Came Home, which is written by Aditi Rao, right? And I would suggest you to read the chapter twice and thrice to be able to understand it better. And before I start this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Now let us start with a brief introduction about the author. Aditi Rao has written several short stories for young people. She also writes for television and films. Her first book was Shakuntala and other stories from ancient India. That's all we know about the author, and for some schools it also comes for MCQs. So please go through it. Let us begin now. Dam building projects have displaced people from entire villages in our country in the past. How do young people cope with the loss of home and sudden poverty? So now the dam projects, that means the dam being built, are forcing the villagers to just flee out of that place. Okay, they are being forced to leave their homes. And here this story is about a boy named Gopal who is in a similar situation. It is taken from the book Growing Up in Pandupur, a collection of stories set in a fictitious little Indian town. Fictitious means something which is not real, something which is not in reality, is just a hypothetical thing. Gopala was a quiet fellow. He kept away from the other children in school, so in short he was shy, preferring to stick with a small group of friends who came from the other side of Pandupur. They travelled together into school in a rusty minivan that hurtled down the street, honking loudly. Hurtled means moving fast in one direction, so it went in one direction down the street and it used to honk very loudly, scattering chickens, pedestrians and cyclists. That means they used to go so fast that in that process many pedestrians and cyclists used to get disturbed, and the chickens, the ones which are which we carry in the truck for their meat, right, they usually used to get scattered, right. Gopal and his friends attended Saraswati Vidyashala. Now by the school's name you can say it is a Hindi medium government school. I mean the local language, the school in a localized language, but they didn't really belong there. This means that they did not feel a sense of belongingness. They had admitted themselves in the school, but they did not feel homely. They never played with the other children, laughed or joked, or handed out toffees on their birthdays. They never celebrated their birthdays there. They only spoke when spoken to, and then very little. So when somebody used to come and speak to them, then only they used to speak, but then also they used to speak really less. This was the way it was until the day Gopala got into big trouble. His friend Ananta's mother had managed to save money for a Beyblade for her son. It was a matter of general pride and interest to the whole group. Now Beyblade means a spinning top toy, right? It was originally from Japan, that is popular amongst young adults. Now I hope this is understood. They were usually animated in class that day, to the surprise of Mani sir, their English teacher, who had to tell them to be quiet and pay attention to the lesson. He felt uncomfortable doing this because they instantly fell silent for the rest of the lesson. Children are naughty, talkative, boisterous. These children were none of those. Animated means energetic, and boisterous means noisy and lively. So whenever Mani sir used to quieten these children who used to whisper, these particular group of children, Gopal and his friends, they used to fall quiet for the rest of the lesson, never used to, engage in those debates and questions, and that used to make Mani sir feel uncomfortable. So usually children are really naughty. They try to crack jokes in the class to make it more attractive, interesting, but these children were quite different. They were none of those. Okay. After school, Gopal and his gang made their way to the Jolly Toys in downtown Pandupur. They chatted away in their local language, a gleam in their usually downcast eyes. So usually they were sad, but today they were happy because of this small cause. The proprietor, Mr. Kirtan, kept all kinds of toys. His biggest customers were the ingenious children from Stony Hill High School, with their incessant demands for PlayStations and Game Boys. So PlayStations and Game Boys are a popular but expensive video game brands that include handheld video consoles or joystick and stuff like that. Okay, and incessant means never-ending demand. So they had this never-ending demands for toys and video games, and they were the wealthiest customers in his store. The three boys from the Stony Hill were already in the shop, briskly examining and rejecting toys. So they were walking quickly and they were examining and rejecting the toys. Gopal's gang arrived and spotted a Beyblade lying on top of the pile of rejects. So they spotted that Beyblade on the pile which the other Stony Hill High School children had rejected. Ananta hurried forward and picked it up. It was pretty, it was gorgeous, it was beautiful. Shiny red with swirls of blue and yellow. Swirl is a circular pattern, circular pattern on something. So that was a kind of a design. I'm buying that, said a voice. Ananta and his gang glanced around. Sunil, who was the boy who said impatiently to his friend, I don't know the local language. How do I explain to these chaps? We can follow. We are knowing English, Gopala said with quite dignity. Good for you, replied Sunil indifferently. Indifferently means, he was really arrogant. So he was treating the poor people indifferently, like unjust. They were unjust to those people. So indifferently extending his hand for the Beyblatt. Okay, nobody noticed Mani sir, their English teacher, enter the store. He had come to buy his nephew a present. Unaware that his teacher was watching him from across the store, Gopala said, you threw it to the side. Sunil smirked. Smirked means smiled in a superior way. So he was quite arrogant. As you know, wealthy people are usually arrogant according to this story, a generalized statement. Okay, so no, I put it aside to buy it. Now he has started lying. He cannot accept the fact that the villagers are going to buy the toys he has rejected. So you were thinking to buy all those toys in that pile? Asked Gopala calmly. So now Gopala did not lose his calm. He continued being the way he was. Sunil turned away dismissively and said, dismissively means in an ignorant way. Here also it is written dismissively means without giving much importance. Dismissively and said, Mr. Kirtan, I'll take the Beyblade and those computer games. Mr. Kirtan smiled uncomfortably. I only have one Beyblade at the moment. Shall I put in an order for another one? Same colors if you like. So he is trying to say that, okay, let those villagers take that Beyblade. I am going to place another order for another one. So you can come and take another one after a few days, because obviously he had rejected it. So now I think it was fairer for the other boys to break into a fight. That's the reason. We are buying this one. How much, uncle? Asked Gopala. Sunil turned red. If you sell that Beyblade to those villagers, I'll make sure my friends and I never buy stuff from you. A fist. So he was now really arrogantly, he was saying that no, if you buy it to him, I'm going to make sure none of my friends and I buy from your store. So that's obviously going to be a big loss for the shopkeeper. Okay. But now it was quite offending for the villagers, right? They also have their self-esteem. So now what they did would surprise you. A fish shot out and hit him in the face. Sunil reeled backwards. So he just stumbled backwards. He went backwards unsteadily. वो थोड़ा पीछे से, गिर गया पीछे. So his friends bristled. They also became angry. Only the intervention of Mani sir prevented a full-fledged fight. Intervention means he came in the middle. He came in the fight which was about to take place, and he just stopped that full-fledged physical fight. The next day, Mani sir discovered that Gopala had been suspended from school for a week, now as a punishment. But was it such a big deal? He asked. Boys fight all the time. Of course, yeah, this is a generalized statement. So he also thought that way, that it wasn't such a big deal. Why they have, increased the case, increased the matter. The Hindi teacher shrugged in reply. So he was just talking to the Hindi teacher. So she said she didn't know. Okay. The violence was wrong, but Gopala had certainly been provoked. Provoked means he was forced. He did something out of anger. Mani sir had a feeling that there was something more to Gopala's sudden outburst. He also felt that yes, he was sad in some other way also, and now he was he was just forcing that anger out on the other boy, Sunil. After lunch, Mani sir excused himself to the principal. He might have taken a half-day leave and rode out on his scooter, heading west towards the dam project. Gradually, the setting became rural. It became out of town, village-like area. At a fork in the road, he consulted the directions to Gopala's house that he had persuaded a nervous Ananta to give him. Now, what is the meaning of the word fork? Fork is the place, where basically it is a divided area. So that place is divided. Here it means divided. Okay. Mani sir chose the left fork, chose the left division, and finally reached a settlement which ironically looked distinctly unsettled. Now if you look at it, it was really unsettled. It was मतलब वो नाम का रेजिडेंट नाम की घर थी, but it wasn't really that settled. The houses and stores were makeshift, made from tin and asbestos instead of brick and mortar. So, houses which are made from tin and asbestos are usually really cold during the day and hot during the night, and they were temporary houses. And he found Gopala's house and knocked. A woman appeared at the door. Namaskar, ma, are you Gopal's mother? Asked Mani sir in the local language, folding his palm in greeting. She nodded, looking wary. Wary means watchful or cautious in the exact, I'm Gopala's English teacher. The mother looked fearful. Is there any more trouble? No, nothing like that. May I come in? She stepped aside to let Mani sir enter. He sat down on the straw, on the straw mat that she had spread for him, looking up and smiled. I came to tell you that Gopala has never given me or any of his teacher any trouble. The mother's jaw dropped open in surprise. So, jaw dropped open is not really, it's not literally true. It is just a kind of a way to express. It is exaggerating. It's saying that the mother was really surprised after she heard it. Then why? The question hung in the air, the mother's sadness and confusion apparent to it. So obviously, apparent means obvious. So it was very obvious that the mother would be sad after listening to it, that why did he get suspended for no reason. If the school hadn't suspended him, the other boy's parents would have gone to the police and made things worse for Gopala. No, but it wasn't really a police case, guys. It was just a small, incident we have read before, which they had increased, the other party had increased. So in Hindi we call it baat ka batangad banana. Okay? But I was there when the fight took place. The other boy was in the wrong, not Gopala. So the other boy was wrong, Gopala wasn't wrong. The mother suddenly broke down. She wiped her eyes, blew her nose on the end of his crumpled sari pallu and looked up. Now pallu is usually the piece that is hanging out when you wear a sari. The thing, that long thing which is in the suit also, that pallu thing which is hanging loose is what is referred to here. There is no right or wrong, sir, only people with money and those without. My Gopala is finished. Now she also feels that usually rich people are more dominant over the poor. The poor are usually suppressed by the rich. Mani sir was startled. Now Mani sir was surprised. What do you mean by finished? It is not that bad. Surely you understand that. Now he's saying it is nothing that big deal. Now he's saved. It hasn't become into a police case. So then why are you so sad? I don't mean school, I mean because he is already so sad. All our children are, and now they will become even sadder, smile even less. Now she's saying they were already sad and now that guy has made him even sadder. Okay. Mani sir watched her closely for a moment. Ma, I have shifted to Pandupur only this year. I'm not sure what is going on here, but Gopala and his friend seem different from the other children at school. Can you tell me why? Now, this paragraph, I feel you should read it on your own. Now, what does this mean? I'm going to summarize this out. She's narrating the whole story, how the dam and everything had forced them to go out of the village. Okay, now you can read it, right? And the last line I have already explained. So that usually the tin homes are very cold during the winters, and it is really hot during the summers, always extreme. Mani sir listened in silence. Then he stood up, having come to a decision. Where is Gopala, ma? The woman was startled. The woman was alarmed. He won't talk to anyone since his father beat him yesterday. He hasn't said a word. Now the woman was feeling alarmed. She was feeling, now what is this guy going to do? I hope he doesn't, scold Gopala and make him even sadder. So now she's making this excuse that he won't talk to anybody since his father beat him yesterday. Mani sir closed his eyes in despair. Now he was even sadder. Mani sir was even disappointed. The worst thing that could happen to the boy was beating. Still, he said firmly, I want to speak to him. Please tell me where he is. Probably down the river where our homes once were. That is where he goes all the time because obviously all the memories. An unmoving blanket of water from which the thick stump of a dead tree pointed to the sky like an accusing finger. On top of it sat a bird of prey. Bird of prey meaning, the eagles and hawks. Okay, waiting. And on the side of the bank sat a bowed figure looking silently out at the waters. Gopala. So now he's just explained. The author is just explaining the scene to us. You see? So the author is saying the water was quite, it was very stagnated. It wasn't moving. हिल नहीं रहा था पानी. उसपे waves नहीं आ रहे थे. It was really stagnated. and there was a tree it was a cut tree, only the tree bark had come up, and it looked like an accusing finger. When you point out a finger at someone, it was something of that sort. So that finger was pointing out in the sky, and Gopal was looking at his reflection in the waters, really sad. Mani sir slowly approached. What tree was that? He asked conversationally. So he wanted to start the conversation with sad Gopal. So he just went and talked to him. Gopala spun around and stared at his teachers, whose eyes were far away. Now, how his eyes were far away? The teacher was standing and the student was sitting. So the eyes would obviously be far away from each other, right? Tamarind. Mani sir sat down beside him. Did you know it? It was in our backyard. I knew a tree once, a guava tree, when I was small. I thought it was really tall before they cut it down last year. I went to visit it one last time. Mani sir chuckled. It was still very tall. Gopala watched him curiously. You didn't mind they cut your tree down? I did. So now he was narrating his story to Gopala, and he was trying to make the situations lighter. And now let's see what happened ahead. Couldn't you stop them? No. Gopal turned away. Neither could I, he said almost to himself. So now, Mani sir is trying to come to the point. He's trying to make things a little serious. And Gopala is remembering his tree, his garden and his home, and he's feeling sad. He's saying, even I couldn't handle. My situation is also similar to yours. So then there was something, but there is something you can do, Mani sir said cheerfully. Gopal frowned. What could he possibly do now that the tree was dead? Mani sir didn't offer any ideas but continued to look at Gopala with bright, expectant eyes, and suddenly it came to him. Now, Mani sir was expecting Gopal to give the answer, so he just stopped for a moment. He was looking at him. He was showing his body language. He was trying to say, okay, now you only tell me what you can do to make yourself feel better. And suddenly Gopala remembered what he could do. Gopala stood up and stripped down his shorts. So he just removed his shorts, and probably he was wearing his underwear. So he picked up a sharp stone. For the first time since Mani sir had set his eyes on the boy, there was animation in him. So he was usually really lazy, reluctant to walk around, but this was the first time he was so active. Gopala dived into the water, making a splash, soaking his teacher, who followed him to the water's edge. Now what happened? The teacher also was curious, so he stood up and he was walking to the edge where Gopala was swimming, and when he just dived in, the splashes of water just came onto the teacher's face. Okay. With sure, strong strokes, Gopala cut his way through the river until he reached the tree stump. So now cut his way through the river is basically a figure of speech. It does not mean he was really cutting the water. It means he was just swimming and he just reached that tree stump. Winding his left arm around it, he was holding the tree with his left arm and he carved something into the trunk. Now that is also given here. What he carved was Gopala climbed this tree. As Gopala turned to swim back from across the distance, Mani sir saw him smile. So now what does these last line mean? Even I had to sit back and understand this part. Right? So this means that Gopala was trying to show his ownership over the tree, over his favorite place, over the place where once laid his home. Right? So he was trying to show that, okay, he was trying to build in the memories for whoever who came would know that this particular tree, this particular place belonged to Gopala before the dams came in. Okay. So that is what it is. And there are many unspoken words in this chapter. It is a really emotional story. So if you read it through 2 or 3 times, you will understand even better. Or you could listen to my explanation more than 2 or 3 times and you will get it better. And my new advice for you would be, if you listen to this while sleeping, I think you will really remember the chapter. That's what I used to do. As a, I do it before every lecture of mine. So that would really be helpful for you. So make sure to listen to this video before sleeping also. And with this, I'm zooming out. I'm ending my lesson. I know it was a little long, but if you have made it up till here, I give you a big thumbs up. Thank you so much.